What's up, everybody? We are live once again. I know it has been a little bit since the last time we were live. That is because, Stevie and I were at Media Row with Sick Podcast, Bill's Banter there. You've seen a lot of those great interviews. Just yesterday, Lawrence Jackson's episode came out. We've had Dwayne Carter, DeMar Hamlin, and there's a couple more still in the can that are going to come out. We're going to be rolling them out slowly but surely. Just a solo pod today. Stevie is out in Palm Springs at the NCAA softball tournament. Good luck to his daughter and his family out there. Drew is battling, Mr. Buckets is battling some bad weather in the Midwest. Good luck to him and his family there. But I got you covered. We're going to be talking some Bills free agency today, not specific players. We will have plenty of discussion on that. I think in the next week or so, we will do an episode where maybe we each give some of our biggest individual targets. But I just kind of want to look at it from a broader scope today. How much money the Bills have? What can they do to create more cap? And what are some positions they should be addressing? What do I want to see them do? So we're going to talk all of that. But before we do, Shane, hit it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Bill's Banter with Stevie Johnson and Michael F. Florio.
Fitzpatrick fires. Oh, caught! Steve Johnson! Touchdown, Buffalo! Why so serious?
The sickest Buffalo Bills podcast.
Allen will run it himself. He pumps. Got some daylight. Hurdles to the end zone.
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back, everybody. So like I was saying before the break, we are going to be talking a lot of free agency today. But before I get into that, I do want to remind everyone about our sponsors, Cigar Mafia. You could head over to cigarmafia.com. They don't just have cigars, right? You get that sweet victory that Stevie loves to enjoy after a Bills victory, but they also sell a lot of apparel. You could get a Why So Serious hat, the Air Allen hat or shirt. There's a whole bunch going on there. And speaking of Cigar Mafia, you know what, Shane? I don't think I warned you of this, but I think you have it ready. I'm not Stevie Johnson, but I'm going to do my best here. Let's hit a Why So Serious right now.
Why so serious?
So on March 17th, St. Patty's Day, Stevie and myself are going to be live in Orchard Park at the Cigar Mafia Orchard Park venue, doing a live episode of Bill's Banter, which I don't think you're going to want to miss. We're working on some guests still. We're working on the details. There's going to be a giveaway, though. It's going to take place at Cigar Mafia in Orchard Park that evening, I believe 6 p.m. It's going to kick off, so you want to get there a little bit early. But that is going to be a great time. Stevie and I are going to be putting out a lot of information on social media, so keep a close eye there on that. So, hope you join us out there. It's going to be, look, I'm flying out there for it. Stevie is. It's going to be a great time. And then that whole week, Stevie is hosting Influencers versus Athletes. I will be a part of that as well in some capacity, but it's going to be a great time out there. If you want more information, our Twitters and Instagrams, and I should give those out, right? Twitter at SickBillsPod, at Stevie Johnson 13, at Michael F. Florio, Instagram, The Sick Podcast Bills, HBHF.Stevie, and Michael F. Florio. We're going to have a lot more information there, so you want to tune in for that. But like I keep saying, we're going to be previewing Bills free agency here, right? So today you might have, if you've been on Twitter or something like that, you might have seen there was some news. The Bills, they had 5 contracts voided this week, which created almost $30 million of dead cap this season. Those contracts are Matt Milano, Joey Bosa, Connor McGovern, Daquan Jones, and AJ Epinesa. Now, that can change if they bring some of these guys back, but as of today, the Bills rank 10th in the NFL in dead cap this season. That's not good. That's not what you want to be, right? You don't want to be top 10 in dead cap. But there are ways the Bills could save money here, right? And before we get into that, though, I do want to say I have been very critical of Brandon Beane, right? And I think a lot of you guys have as well. Brandon Beane knows, trust me, Brandon Beane knows that this is the biggest offseason for him since last offseason, right? Every offseason when you have a franchise quarterback is your biggest one, but he's now top dog, right? Like Sean McDermott, there was a battle there for power or whatever it may be. There was rumors and reports that McDermott had a lot more say in personnel decisions and stuff like that than maybe the public knew, in draft decisions, stuff like that. But now it's Beane, right? Who else could fall? Beane handpicked the head coach. Obviously, that led to the other coaching decisions that are going to be there, and some of which get me excited. Such as Jim Leonard as the DC. I really like that move. I'm excited to see what that could become. But Brandon Beane is top dog, right? He's there's no one else to blame or finger point or anything but him. And some of these contracts, look, maybe 4 of them are defensive players. So maybe Sean McDermott had a lot more to do with these signings. And maybe Brandon Beane deserves the benefit of the doubt. Or maybe not. I don't think anyone outside of people in that Bills organization could speak 100% on that one way or the other. But you know what will reveal all? Time. If we're sitting here a year from now being like, oh man, they signed this wide receiver and they were Curtis Samuel and Josh Palmer 3.0, that's going to be a problem for Brandon Beane. If the defense continues to crumble, that's going to be a problem for Brandon Beane. This is the most important offseason for the Bills in the Josh Allen era because like last year felt like it was very important. Last year was the right traditional. We heard in 2024 that it was a transitional year, that the Bills had to clear a lot of cap. They had to get the cap space right. They had to move on from a lot of veterans and stuff like that were making too much money. Half of them came back this past season anyway. But the Bills are still in a pretty terrible cap situation. And here's the thing. I know Brandon Beane, and look, it depends on what site you look at. I like Spotrac. They have the Bills as 28th most cap right now, 15 million under. Over the cap has them in the bottom 5 as well. I think it's about 12 over. There's with the dead cap and all that. The thing that matters is that they are over cap right now. And Brandon Beane is going to say, well, that's what happens when you pay a franchise quarterback. Except, right? I'm looking at the Bengals aren't in cap hell this year. Pretty sure they paid their franchise quarterback. Pretty sure the Rams do as well. The Ravens, they pay Lamar a whole bunch of money. They're not in cap hell this year. I mean, the Cowboys, they pay Dak a bunch of money. They are. The Chiefs aren't in a great space cap wise. But you get the point, right? It's not because of Josh Allen. It's because of a lot of these other bad contracts that have been given out in recent years. If your biggest problem is you have to pay the best quarterback in the league, trust me, man, there are thousands of people who would sign up for that job. You need someone to build a team around Josh Allen? Yes, sign me up. It's easy. Well, it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy. But the biggest question is answered, right? People will literally, there's a whole bunch of other teams out there who would kill to be in this problem, to have to pay a Josh Allen. But the other contracts, when you are paying what I will say is when you are paying a franchise quarterback that much money, your room for error at other positions is marginal, right? It decreases and decreases and decreases. And Brandon Beane, he's made a lot of errors at other positions. He hit a home run with the Josh Allen pick. I'm not gonna say he didn't, because there was, if you remember back in that draft of 2018, there was a whole bunch of people who did not want Josh Allen with that 7th overall pick. Well, they were wrong and Beane was right. And that is why Brandon Beane has a job today, because there's been a lot of swing and misses since then. And I don't want to just be sitting here attacking the guy. The reason I'm saying this is because I'm saying this is the most important offseason, because Josh is going to be 30. You only get so many cracks at it, which is why I was okay moving on from Sean McDermott, because you only get so many opportunities when you have a franchise quarterback, and history says that the Bills should have won a Super Bowl by now with how much success they've had in the last 6 years. History also says if a quarterback head coach combo hasn't won a Super Bowl this late into their tenure, they're never going to. So I thought that was okay. But you all know I wanted more changes as well. And I know a lot of you feel the same way. So what can be done to create more money now, right? That becomes the next question. Well, luckily, we don't got to figure it out on our own. There was a great article over on Yahoo Sports. I believe it was on Syracuse.com as well. But the Bills could save money by making 5 moves. And the first one just makes a ton of sense. Josh is going to be here for the foreseeable future. You could restructure his contract, save $12.1 million. Even if that adds some dead cap down the road, it's something that you do, right? Because Josh is in his prime. Bills need money. They need to capitalize now. They are in Super Bowl or bust mode, and everyone knows it. Brandon Beane knows if he has a bad offseason, he might not get another chance at building a Super Bowl roster. Now, I don't really believe that. I think he has security after he got a promotion this year, but he knew, from stuff that I heard at least, I'll just say that, Beane knew the pressure and eyeballs and the heat were firmly pointed his way this past season. McDermott I wouldn't even say fell on the sword, because I was okay with the move. So that happened, right? So McDermott was the one who took blame this year. If they come up short again next season, you're not blaming Joe Brady, first-year head coach. You're not blaming a first-year DC. You're blaming the guy who hired them and the guy who makes the decisions and builds the roster. So you could do that with Josh Allen and save some money. You could restructure Spencer Brown per this article and save $10.4 million. You can extend Deion Dawkins and save $12.7 million, or add that, because you could make it a bonus. Like, this is why people say the cap doesn't exist, because it's you can have a lot of flexibility with it. And to Brandon Beane's credit, he has done a good job in past years restructuring and stuff like that to create more cap. It's what he's done with the cap, in my opinion, that has been an issue, which takes me to move number 4. He could release Curtis Samuel, who he gave a bag to 2 off seasons ago and who has not made much of an impact at all. You could cut him and save $5.2 million. That feels like a lock, right? The Bills need to rebuild that wide receiver room as quickly as possible. Then you could release Taylor Rapp, which I don't love this one, because Taylor Rapp played well when given an opportunity, but that could be a scheme thing with Sean McDermott. I want Jim Leonard to be able to come in and have his own guys. And more than anything, we saw Cole Bishop break out last year. So the Bills are in good hands there. So this is something they could do. All that being said, that is 12, 24, 34. That's over $40 million right there, just created by these 5 moves. And all you're losing is a secondary piece, like maybe your backup safety if Cole Bishop was going to start over Rapp. Not sure how, because Hamlin's a free agent. There's gonna be a lot of changes in that secondary anyway. And then you release Curtis Samuel, who, no disrespect to him, I don't know if it just wasn't a scheme fit, if he is no longer the guy that he was before they signed, but for whatever reason, it just never worked with Curtis Samuel. Like, allow me to pull up his stats real quick. Curtis Samuel in his 2 years with the Buffalo Bills finished with 31 catches for 253 yards in 2024, 7 catches for 81 yards in 2025. 2 touchdowns scored between the 2 years. Like, it just never worked. And it's evident. He's also going to be 30. Like, he's got to go. You know who they can't really move on from right now? Josh Palmer. You know what was a bad signing? Josh Palmer. But there is some room for growth there, or hope, because Josh Palmer, I still go back to that week 1 game where he had that ridiculous sideline over the shoulder catch. That was a fantastic throw by Josh. And I remember, and look, Stevie picked him to lead the Bills in receiving yards this year. There was high hopes for Palmer. But then I believe it was the Falcons game. He got hip drop tackled, and that injury just ruined his season. Even when he returned, he continued to miss practice because of it. He was just not healthy at any point from then on. So maybe in year 2, there's more production out of Josh Palmer. Maybe, but there's nothing with Curtis Samuel there. Also, we're hearing reports and rumors and stuff that Sean McDermott had more to do with the game plan than offensively than the public knew. That, you know, he was about controlling the clock and running a lot. And my hope, and Joe Brady kind of said he wants to do this, is the Bills air it out more this year. But you need guys who can get open downfield. You need to rebuild that exterior. Look, you got a dog in the slot and Khalil Shakir. Now you need guys out wide who could get open and win downfield. And that is going to be a big focal point, right? So when we talk specific targets next week or the week after, before free agency, I'm going to name check one guy here now. Alec Pierce. So I really am a big fan of Alec Pierce because he has led the Colts in receiving yards 2 years in a row. He has led the NFL in air yards per target 2 years in a row. He did so this year, leading the Colts in receiving yards with the 4th most targets on the team. He led the NFL in yards on deep passes 2 years ago. He was top 5, was 4th in 2025. The dude, I also think, could play better than we've seen, because he was kind of a deep look. Sauce Gardner legitimately on Twitter today called him a deep catch merchant or deep target, deep shot merchant, something like that. But that's how the Colts used him, right? Like, just win downfield, win downfield, win downfield. I think he could come in and be the Bills' number 1 wide receiver. I think there's still more meat on the bones there. And unlike, look, I'm not taking a shot at Brandon Cooks, but Brandon Cooks, Stephon Diggs, Trent Sherfield, all of the best field stretchers from recent years with the Buffalo Bills have been separation guys, right? That's what Josh Palmer is supposed to be. Josh Palmer was brought in here to be the Bills' best downfield separator. Didn't work out in year 1. Maybe it will in year 2. But, and look, you guys know I love Josh. He's my favorite player in the NFL. I champion for him all the time when people like to bash him. And people are bashing him right now on social media because they're non-ball knowers. Josh is the best quarterback alive. I know Mahomes has the accomplishments, but that's a conversation for another day. But the last couple of years, the best quarterback has been Josh Allen. Josh isn't the most accurate on the deep ball. He'll hit the vicinity, but for guys who need the ball placed in their hands, he's like, in that Denver game, he missed one. There was just a number of sideline shots that he just missed, and that's kind of been a thing. But that's why, like, a player like Mac Hollins had a lot of success with the Bills, because he's kind of a go up, and you just put it in my vicinity. I have a huge catch radius. I will go up. I will get that thing. I will win contested catches. It is what they wanted Keon Coleman to be, even though from the start I kind of thought he was miscast as that. I think Keon is best used as a big slot who could win after the catch. We saw that in the playoffs. It was the Denver game, right, where he had that catch and run touchdown. But Alec Pierce is a go up and get it, contested catch, human eraser type. And I think you want someone like that paired with Josh Allen. So I gave you a specific name there. But obviously the Bills are going to have to rebuild that wide receiver room. I think they could potentially do so by signing someone and drafting a receiver or two. Like, do not get stingy. Do not hold those picks. And I think Brandon Beane knows more than anything, he needs to deliver a wide receiver this year. More than anything, that is on him to find, because the trade deadline, the last two big signings he made at the position, the last big draft pick he made at the position, getting rid of Stephon Diggs and Diggs being in the Super Bowl, he's been up there. I was going to say Adam Dunn, but maybe that would age me. Who's a baseball player today that strikes out at a very, very high rate? I'm going to go with Adam Dunn because he's just in my head. He's up there swinging at wide receivers and connecting at an Adam Dunn type rate, right? Just whoop, whoop, whoop. Look, I'll take out my my autographed Jose Reyes baseball bat here, right? He's just swinging and missing and not even hitting a foul tip. Yeah, you hit on Shakir and you've done nothing but miss since then. He knows he needs to deliver. If he does not deliver a wide receiver this year, he might be gone next year. He knows that. So I think we're going to get an aggressive Beane going after wide receivers. But I don't think that's the only position the Bills need to focus on this year. They're going to need to rebuild the interior portion of the offensive line because, well, the Bills are potentially going to get priced out of certain players like Connor McGovern, David Edwards are free agents. They could get priced out of that. And if that happens, because those guys could get a big payday. So if that happens, they're going to have to rebuild there. I think Alec Anderson is an option there. Ryan Van DeMark, maybe. But Alec Anderson, I do think is ready maybe to step up. He's been in the system for a while. I think the Bills want to retain him. So that is something they're going to have to address. And then defense, right? I expect huge changes on defense because a lot of these players were brought in to fit Sean McDermott's scheme. Poyer, White, who knows what happens with them. But I just think in general, we are going to get a ton of changes with McDermott out and Jim Leonard in. Jim Leonard said they're going to be uber aggressive. They want to be attacking the ball. And one thing that I have been very vocal on is the Bills need dogs, right? Whether that is swinging for the fences with the Max Crosby type, which I don't expect, or a little bit more under the radar signings like what Michael Hoyt was last year, something like that. They just need dogs because I've said this a lot, but please point out to me the Bills defender that has scared opposing offensive players. It just hasn't really existed, right? Like, look, Ed Oliver, great player. Groot, I think, is a very good player. AJ Epenesa's had moments. Like Christian Benford has greatly outlived the price people, the draft price and everything. He's been a big hit. But there's no one that you look at and you say, if you're an opposing offensive player, like, watch out for that guy, right? Like the Seahawks just went and dogged the New England Patriots. They dog walked them for 3.5 quarters, and then like garbage time production happened. The Bills couldn't stop that Patriots offense at all. They couldn't get them off the field. I know in the second half of the second game they did, but like, come on. The Bills, there's a reason why they're always in these game of the year type games. Because Josh and the offense put up a ton of points, and the defense gives up a ton of points when they play other top offenses. I think it's 31 points per game in their last 6 playoff losses. Yeah, that's why McDermott's gone. They need, if the Bills had a competent defense, and I know people could say, well, they were the number 1 passing defense this year. Okay, they were terrible against the run, which led to teams running against them and not throwing against them. The Bills, even in the years where they had top defenses, I do quote unquote, because I don't think they ever had a top defense under Sean McDermott. Maybe in 2018 with the year the drought ended, but not in this last 5 or 6 years. They would bully bad offenses, and then they would get bullied by the top offenses, right? The Chiefs would run circles around McDermott. Couldn't stop him. Could stop him in the regular season, never in the playoffs. The Ravens, even when the Bills beat them, the Ravens put up a ton of points and were moving the ball pretty much at will against that defense. 40 points in this game. 25 in the playoffs? But that's even with McDermott's defenses were extremely turnover or bust. We're going to let you get into the red zone. We're going to hope we hold you to a field goal if we don't get a turnover. That's what his defenses were. That works in the regular season. It does not work against top offenses in the playoffs. You need proof? Let's go look at the last 6 years as proof. Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens all had success against this defense. It's a problem when those are the other teams that you're competing with for a Super Bowl in your conference. So I think huge changes are going to come on the defensive end, and I just want some dogs. I don't want all good character, good community guys. I understand that that's important for a team. It's important for a fan base to have connections with these players. It's important for a locker room. But you know what's equally as important? Some guys that strike fear into the hearts of the opposing players. And the Bills haven't had someone like that in quite some time. Maybe Matt Milano pre-injury was someone like that. He was someone like that. Prime Trey White was someone like that. But we're now going back 4 or 5 years. We need some dogs in this building. And that is what I hope the Bills do. Give me one wide receiver signing, a couple of wide receiver 2 in the drafts. Get an offensive lineman or 2 to replace the 2 that you were losing, and use all the rest on defense. Build this defense in Jim Leonard's vision and let him run wild. Because we already know the offense, even the offense under Joe Brady, which people weren't crazy over the last couple of years, we know they could put up plenty of points. We know the offense is not the reason this team can't get over the hump. It's not the reason they haven't won a Super Bowl. It has been the defense. It has been the defensive line more than anything disappearing and being unable to get any pressure or sacks on quarterbacks in the playoffs. That was a big issue this year. It was a big issue last year. And please, for the love of God, Brandon Beane, if you are listening, and you might be, no Joey Bosa type, no Von Miller type, right? I think Von Miller was going to work until he tore his ACL. I'll give you a pass on that one. But let's not bring in a past year prime player who's more name than production at this point. Bosa had a good game against the Chiefs in the middle of the year, and then he disappeared after that. Couldn't create any pressure. Couldn't get after the quarterback. Okay, yeah, he jumped up and tapped some passes. Cool. That's what you're paying him to do? I don't think so. You're paying him to get after the quarterback. You're paying him to disrupt the passing game. You need someone who can do that consistently. You haven't had one in a while. This is your chance, Brandon Beane. If you swing and miss again, right? I'll bring out my baseball bat again. If you get this out this offseason and you're up there Gary Sheffield style and you just hack and swing and miss, your days in Western New York might be over. I'm just speculating. I don't know this for a fact. My bat almost fell. I haven't heard it's a make or break year. In fact, again, I'll say it again. I think he is more secure than a lot of people might think because he just got promotion. Seems to have a really good relationship with the owner. But eventually, you gotta get the production on the field, and your moves have to work out. The Bills can't win in spite of your moves anymore, like they have been. Look, I get it. Your move was Josh Allen, and that's how you're winning. But if you didn't have Josh Allen, you're still not in Buffalo now. And the fan base, they're growing tired of waiting. They know, they have eyes. They can see the greatness that 17 is and what he does in the playoffs, and understand that the reason they haven't been able to win is everything else around it. Now, there's stars there in James Cook, the O-line, Deion Dawkins, and then it starts to get a little bit thinned out. But that is what is of the utmost importance this year. Figuring out receiver and figuring out defense. If you do those two things, I think there is a very good chance that Bills fans are much happier a year from now in January and February than we've been the last 5-6 years. But that's going to do it for me today. solo show in the books. Next week, Stevie will be back. And again, March 17th at Cigar Mafia Orchard Park location. Come, we're going to be posting the details on Twitter and Instagram. Follow us there for the most, but we hope you join us. It's going to be a great time. St. Patty's Day, I know there are going to be some cigars there, some whiskey there, lots of green. We'll be hanging out after. Please come through, show the pod some love, and have a good time talking Bills, having a couple of drinks, and enjoying your St. Patty's Day. But for today, that is going to do it. As always, I very much so appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day and listening. And if Stevie was here, I know he would say, Bills banter, let's banter, one love. So on that note, thank you for tuning in today. Continue to enjoy the episodes we are going to roll out from Media Row. And we'll be back next week with an all-new Bills banter with Mike Florio and Stevie Johnson. See you guys next week.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Bills Banter on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.